Okay, so this is a great question. And first off, I just want to say thank you for being willing to be vulnerable and share a part of your story. Hopefully I can explain what's happening in your nervous system in a way that can maybe take some of the what's wrong with me anxiety away from it, and then give you some tips that can help. So what you're describing with what happened at 19 and the pain and shock of finding your boyfriend being unfaithful, and what's happening now with your body not wanting to stay in a relationship more than 3 months, in somatic experiencing, we call this an overcoupling. It's like what happened at 19 put two things together that don't necessarily belong together. In other words, it might be, if I really let myself love someone and get close to someone, I'm going to be rejected, I'm going to be cheated on and abandoned. And so the challenge with overcouplings is that that was true at one time. You did love and you did get hurt. The thing is that now the nervous system is like, oh, because that happened then and there was so much emotion with it, we need to remember this because that means it will always happen. And that's the problem with the nervous system. Once true does not mean always true. But that's where we have to help our nervous system. So overcouplings, again, they're two things that don't belong together that feel super glued together. The thing with overcouplings is that they don't go away with time. And then if we try to just force our body through it, it will feel so uncomfortable and nothing good will come out of it, which is what it sounds like you were learning. So rather than forcing your body, what you really want to do is start learning to work with the story that got stuck. Now, I know that there's sometimes resistance of wanting to go back to what happened in the past because it's like, okay, that's over. I just want to be fine in the present. Why do I have to go back there? But it's kind of like if a computer got a virus, right? You may want it to function how it's designed to function, but you have to find the virus. If the malware was planted years ago, you still have to take the time to find that virus and remove it so that the computer can function properly. It's the same thing with our nervous system. We have to go back to where your nervous system kind of crashed because of the amount of emotion and shock that came up suddenly. So things often get stuck when there's too much, too fast, too soon, and or there's little support. There's a lot of healing we can do alone, but the problem with trying to break an overcoupling by yourself is that you have to do two roles. You have to be with your nervous system and experience what's happening, and you have to witness your nervous system. And that's really hard to do when there's so much charge and painful beliefs with the overcoupling. That's where having a somatic experiencing practitioner is really helpful, to really help work with your nervous system so that as you're doing this work, you don't wind up just reflooding yourself or re-traumatizing yourself. I'll do a video on what that looks like in a somatic experiencing session, but until then, what I would encourage you to do maybe is think about what happened in the past, what happened when you were 19, and notice where your body is holding that story. Notice it in sensation. Is it a tightness in your chest? Is there butterflies in your stomach? Is there tension in your shoulders and neck? Find where your body's holding that story and then ask yourself if there's a place that feels different. It might be my toes are really relaxed or neutral, or my left ankle feels fine, my right ear. It doesn't matter where. And then you can spend time pendulating between both sensations, the place of tension or tightness versus the place that's neutral and still. What this starts to do is allow you to notice that you can recognize the story in the body without getting stuck there. Now, this isn't a total cure, but it does start expanding your nervous system's ability to be with the story and to know that it doesn't have to stay stuck. The next step is to start untying the knot that's stuck in your nervous system so that you can replace that with the belief, it's safe for me to love and be loved. But I would really be curious with what happens or what you learn when you start this pendulation exercise, when you start being with the story and when you start being with the place of calmness. Now, what you might notice is that when you are with the story, a lot comes up and it can feel too much or too big. That's when you know you really need to get some help from a somatic experiencing practitioner to help you with that activation that comes up in your body.